we're going to make sure we've got, that's the back of it, that's the front, so just going to line them up. Okay, and we want them to go in the same direction. Can you see the little hearts? So those are paint pointing that way, so I want these to point that way as well. I'm going to pop a pin in there. Okay, and I'm just going to sew that straight across. Do a little back stitch and straight across. Back stitch. And straight across. Back stitch on the end. Alright. Okay. Alright, and then we're going to take the two pieces just like that. I'm going to fold them in half. So just going to have a little tiny frill with this top. We don't want anything too big with it. Now we're going to change our setting on our foot to the biggest stitch so we can gather it, which is this right up here. So just going to pop it up to there. Okay. We're going to take our fabric and we're just going to fold it in half, making sure that you've got, this is the outside is showing. Okay, and we're just going to, do I want to do the ends first? I think we'll do the ends first. Yeah, we're going to do it, first of all we're going to go and do that ends first. So we do want the two pieces touching together, and we want to just run straight across the ends, but not on a 4, just so that we've got a nice neat end. I'm going to do it just on this end. And run backwards. Okay, lift that, and then we're just going to turn that the right way around. The reason we do that is we're going to want a nice neat end on the end of that dress, on the end of that frill. I'm just going to push that piece out so we've got a nice square piece, and then we're going to come along here with that 1/4 of an inch, and we're going to put it on, make sure we're on that tacking stitch, and we're going to come all the way along, keeping that folded over. Oh yeah, make sure you've got a nice long end of thread hanging over the back there. Keep them nice and lined up. And just carry on like that until you get to the end. Don't bother to turn it in at the end yet. So once you've done that, we're going to come back and we're going to do another row of tacking stitches, and we're just going to go just slightly above the other stitches. So you're running along, it's just about 1/8 of an inch above the other stitches, and you're just going to do a whole row of tacking stitches along there. So you can get all these different little, they call them patches, I think. And you could make that, and that would make a nice little boy's shirt, especially if you just had blue on the other side as well. You could make it reversible, so you'd have one on the front like this, and then another one on that piece as well. Now this one was on a pair of jeans, so I just went around the outside and cut it off. And then what I will do is I will go around very carefully before I use it and cut it without going over the lines, which I've done on this one here. This was on a baby grow. I thought, well, that's pretty, I'll save that, because these can be quite expensive. That was on a pair of canvas trousers, and I thought, oh, isn't that lovely? I like that one. I got this one from a charity shop, and it's Mickey Mouse. As you can see, it was 50p. This is a lovely one. This one was 89p from Triggle Mills, but that would look lovely on the front of there. Another one there, look, a little boy one. Okay, so they're all like stitched. They've all been sort of stitched. I can do that with my embroidery machine. This one, obviously it's a girl one, but you can get boy ones like this as well. This is just an iron on, and it's on like a piece, and it just comes off the paper. You sort of put it on, you iron it, and it comes off the paper. So it's just like a sort of, it's like a plastic almost. So that's quite nice. So it's a different one. This is a motif. It's just a picture. There's no stitching on it or anything. And they've just stitched around the outside, and it's got some fusible web, which you would just iron that one on with. And that one is just stitched around the outside. It's called red work, and it's got like a silky stuff underneath. And as you can see, this is how they make them, and they have, you know, big gaps around the side like that. So, you know, if you want to cut one out and you don't get that, you can leave a bit around the side. It doesn't matter, because that's exactly as they make them. So if you see a baby grow anything like that, pair of jeans, skirt, anything, and it's got something like this on, and you're only going to pay £1 or so, that's going to be cheaper than buying that online, because you're probably going to pay £3 or £4 for that. Okay, but as I say, that would make a really nice boy's vest, just like that. Okay, so we're going to do that, and then all you would do, oh look, and I got those off a pair of the trousers, so you could just put something like that on. That's just off a pair of trousers, which was one of the children's I'd cut off, and I thought, oh, I'll save that bit, because that could go on there and be something for a boy. And all you would do is exactly the same as we're going to do in a moment. You would turn your top in like that, and make sure that's all pushed out the way, and then you'd leave a gap here in the center, just like that, and you'd use that to pull your fabric through, and then you'd stitch from here all the way along and stop at the gap there, and then you'd come along here. You want about 1.5 to 2 inch gap. Okay, and then you're going to stitch all the way along to the end there. Okay, and then you'll turn it the right way round, and then you'll sew it the same way as I'm going to show you to sew the this one with a frill, and that will just be a plain little vest top for a boy doll. Okay, so I'm just going to show you now how I'm going to put the ruffle on. Thought it was interesting just to show you that. Okay, if I was going to sew one of those badges on and not iron them on, I would put them on before I'd started doing any of the sewing. So whilst it was still flat on the table, I'd put them on the front. So I'm going to get my ruffle, and we're going to start. We've got 2 pieces of thread on the top, and we're just going to start to pull it along and gently pull those stitches along and get it all going along and gathering up. Okay, can you see me doing that? Hopefully you can see that. So just keep going until you've got a gather all the way along, and you want enough gather to come from this end. So this fabric was so thick that it was really hard to do the to pull it through on the tacking. So what I've done is I've just come along, I'm just hand tacking it, and I'm tacking it as I'm sewing. I'm pinning it as I go. I'm trying to keep it on that line where those stitches are, but I'm doing great big stitches like this for my tacking. Okay, and then I'll just push that through. It's quite hard because you're going through those 2 layers. I just couldn't get it to gather up properly, and then I'm just going to pull that back in. Okay, and as you get your gathers coming in, you can come along then and just put your pin in where you want it, and then you can do the next piece of gathering. Alright, so just keep going with that until you get to the end if you want to do the gathering like that. We're not much far from the end, so I should just do that last little bit, keeping it on that 1/4 inch there, and we're just pinning it to that one piece of fabric, which is the front of your bodice. Okay, I need to put the pin back in there. I'm going to put a pin in there like that. So if you find that you're not happy with it, put another pin in. Okay, I'm going to make sure you get those gathers nice and even across the front there. And then I'm coming along here. Now I'm thinking that probably I'm going to be about, this is going to be probably enough to do me to the end. So I'm going to cut it here to the sewing machine a minute and put another end on that end. Okay, so I'm just going to fold it in half, so that's my right side, fold it in half on the wrong side like that, and I'm just going to, okay, so I'm just going to put it down so it's on that line and run across. I'll do a back stitch as well. Whoops, that didn't help, did it? Alright, so then I'm going to turn it the right way round. I like to do that right near the end, because then you know that you're not going to, if you do it before and you end up with either too much or too little or whatever. So I do that right at the end, just before I'm going to finish that last bit off. So I'm going to tack all that in and pop that onto there. with my needle. There we go. So finish this last bit off. Okay, so we're here, and I'm just going to do some long, ouch, don't do that, long stitches right at the end, right to the end of that. Okay, one. I think it's quite hard to go through it. There we go. At times I've even resorted to going through with a pair of pliers to pull it through, and then I'm going to pin that there right on the very end. Okay. If you do stab yourself with the pin, make sure that you're not bleeding everywhere, because the other day when I was doing something I looked down and there was blood all over the work, and just take it away and wash it. Right, that one's not quite on the very edge. I want it on the very edge. Can you see that on the very, very edge? There we go. That's better, I think, yeah. There, and then that's all gathered in nicely there. Pull that a bit tighter. Okay. Get those pins in there. Just a little bit longer to get that done that day than I was expecting, but actually I quite like to do my tack and stitches with by hand, because I always think they go a little bit faster than the other ones, right? And I thought they needed a pin there, didn't I? Just to stop it moving around at all. Okay. Oops. There, that's better. So, okay, yeah. Okay, I know it's a bit like spaghetti junction. We've got a lot of this fabric is coming away a bit. I don't know if you can see. So you want to be careful not to pull any of those bits, because otherwise you'll end up with shorter pieces of fabric. So come to the machine now and lay it so that you're starting off with that blue bit behind the foot. And you want to put it straight down onto the very edge, so that when your needle goes down, you can see this, when your needle goes down, it's just going into that piece of fabric, alright? And you want it at the 1/4 inch, and mine isn't, so I'm just going to have to go and move that slightly. Okay. Just move that, so it's definitely touching on that 1/4 inch. Just get a bit closer so you can see that. Right, and then we're just going to run along very carefully. And if you notice that your pin, the piece where it's pinned is coming over the top of the fabric too much, just sit them down, and you can lay your finger there. Hopefully you can see this, but you can lay your finger there across the top of those folds, and that will keep those in place. Okay, and then I'm going to do a back stitch. And you want to make sure you take your pins out as you're running along, okay? So that one's sitting straight, okay. There we go, and then just keep that going. Mind your fingers with those pins. Don't get too badly stabbed. As I say, we don't want blood everywhere. And what you want to do here is make sure you get that right to that very edge there. So I've stopped it right in between that line between the blue and the white. I'm going to do a back stitch and then finish there. Okay, that's that, and there's your ruffle on. So here is our top. Okay, now if this was just your top and you wanted to make the boy's top, you would just do it exactly the same as this, you just wouldn't put the frill on it, okay? We're just going to turn it, and we are going to join up these seams on this side. Okay, you want to make sure that all of that stuff and all of that ruffle is down underneath. So we're going to push it down with our finger, and then we're going to get those two seams there. Okay, it's that seam on that side and that seam on that side, and we're going to marry them up and put up our pin in. Now you're going through quite a few layers of fabric there, so it's going to be a little bit harder. Then we're going to put a pin in here, and then we're going to move along, and we want to leave a gap about 2 inches. Okay, I'll put another pin in here so I know that that's down there out the way. Okay, just like that on the seam, so those two seams are sitting nicely together. Right, and nestled beautifully together. Okay, and then we'll put another one on this side. We want that blue to be at the same level as the white. Okay. Right, and then in the middle, what we are going to want to do, I want to put another pin in there. I think I don't like the way that's sitting there. Is that the same? That's doing the same. It's probably just because of the bulk of the fabric. So, as you know, I love to pin. That's it. I'd rather have it pinned than unpick. I hate to unpick, so I'd rather pin than unpick. Right. Okay. So we're just going to leave a gap about 2 inches. Okay. 1.5 to 2 inches. So we're going to come along. I'm going to put a pin in there, like that, and then we're going to leave another gap there. I'm going to put another pin in here, just like that. And this is what you do exactly the same if you were doing the boy's top, okay, without the ruffle. So you're going to stitch all the way along here now, just like that. So you'll come along from here, do a back stitch, come along to here, do a back stitch, stop, move along, do a back stitch there, and then stitch all the way to the end and have a back stitch. Okay, let's take my scissors. So you'll have a piece of thread going through the middle, or 2 pieces of thread going through the middle, which you need to remove, like that. There you go. Okay, you can trim off any bits of ends you might have as well. Right, and then we're going to turn our whole top the right way around. It's going to come out through that hole. All right, so just take your time. Don't want to pull at anything too hard. Okay, so there we go. Right, now take your quick unpick and go around and kick off any stitches which tacking stitches which might be showing through. Okay, so we're going to take our needle and thread now. If you really wanted to and you really didn't want to stitch this by hand, you could go across on the sewing machine now and stitch just on that very edge to keep it down, but I'm going to just do a little stitch and set down. Right, so I've got my knot in the end of my cotton. I'm just going to come in and I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to pop it underneath and in to that first bit of blue fabric which is already stitched. Okay, I'm just going to pull that up and through. Alright, and then what we're going to do is just get this all laying flat, and it should fold into a nice line of where you wanted it. You can take your iron and press this first if you want to make sure that that's laying nice and flat. Alright, and we're going to just take our needle, exactly the same as we did on the other one, put it in through the front and then in through the back. Alright, and stitch it all the way across. Okay, so here we go. There's the little top. So that's the little top with the ruffle. And so what I'm going to do now is put the Velcro on. Okay, for it. So I'm going to just pop it on the inside. I'm going to just take it to there and cut it there. There we go. Just to there. And the same on that side. I'm going to have one piece and I'm going to put it on the outside of this one and the inside of this one, but obviously when you turn it around it'll be the other way around. Okay, and this is the one with the ruffle. I quite like it. Do you? It's really cute, isn't it? I'll just show the other side, see what it looks like. It's really sweet, isn't it? I really think it's cute. I don't know what you think. I quite love it. I think they're both beautiful. Anyway, thanks for coming and joining us. If you'd like to subscribe to our channel, you're welcome. See you all later. Bye.